Asheville View. I'm your host, Aisha Adams, and today we're going to be talking about self-esteem and the courage to stand up for yourself. I know in my own life, I've had body issues, I've had issues with self-esteem, mostly like imposter syndrome when it comes to business and being one of the few minorities in the room or at the table. Mm-hmm. How has your self-esteem been affected by being an adult trying to navigate through the system here?
I think as a woman, you're always at some point in your life having issues with self-esteem. From when you become a teenager, you start to see things, and then it just keep building up and building up. And then personally, I became a high school teacher, and that was really challenging because it was more like, oh my God, all these kids, and they're older. They're not like little ones that come and give you a hug. No, they're teenagers, and they're sitting there and they're judging you. So that was very hard to be able to speak in public and have your own issues, like, am I speaking right? I'm speaking a different language. I think in 3 languages, so I'm always wondering if I'm saying things correctly. Am I translating and things don't make sense? Are people staring at my boobs? Like, what's happening? And then I had a kid, and it was the same thing. It was the same issues of self-esteem. You gain weight, you lose weight, then you gain it back, and you're always trying. But what really helped me get past those issues is having a girl on my own and just saying all the time, whenever you're saying something about yourself or your body or the way you speak, anytime you're criticizing yourself, she's listening all the time. So I really became mindful of that. I never say, oh, I don't like this, or I'm getting fat, or I'm getting skinny. I'm very careful what to say. And I think having her around has really helped me get over a lot of the things that I was insecure about, mm-hmm. and just learn how to embrace who you are and love who you are. And I think that was, Lilu did that for me, because I want to be my best self for her. I want her not to develop issues. Yes.
I think the really big one for me is the word gay.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
It was used very negatively, mm-hmm. when I was growing up. I mean, I've heard like, you're gay, you're gay, you're gay, all the way in elementary school. And the thing is people don't realize that the term gay is used for things that are lame, mm-hmm. or boring, mm-hmm. or stupid or dumb. But no one ever thinks about the counterpart of that. When are things okay or all right? Then they're straight.
Yeah.
No one thinks about that. So it took for me in 5th grade, sorry, I'm getting emotional. Aww. I had this incredible teacher, Miss Verbanek, and this kid was bullying me, and he was calling me gay. And she, instead of saying, don't call him that, got in his face and said, and what if he is? And that made me realize it's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. So that was really important to me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
I guess the thing for me is that there's something wrong with everybody.
Yeah.
And you meet a person or you know a person and you're like, my goodness, she's gorgeous. And then you talk to her for a second and it's like, I'm too skinny. My hair is not long enough. I wish I had bigger boobs. I need more butt. So mm-hmm. like with women, there's everything about the outside. And so I've really tried to kind of let go of that, mm-hmm. and focus on what's on the inside, mm-hmm. because it's really about what's on the inside that matters.
But what's on the inside always reflects on the outside. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, you know, people will walk up to you and see someone who's shining.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're gorgeous,
yeah.
they're beautiful, and it's because they're genuine with themselves and they're happy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's always nice.
And that's why mental health, and we talked about this, mental health and self-esteem run side by side. It's the same thing. If you're not good up here, you're never gonna be okay with what you look like or look like to other people.
Yeah, and I think like we live in a society where it is okay to be petty, mm-hmm. right? And like I'm really over the petty movement. I'm really ready for people to begin to be genuine with people again, or
and build
be
each
kind
other up.
To be people again, Or, you know, I read a meme, because I'm always on social media, that's like, I mean, you could be petty or you could be significant. And I choose to be significant. And I think when we get rid of this petty movement, I think we're going to see a lot more people happy and restored.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, I mean, you know, your genuine friends, we get in the weird little cat fights. They happen. They happen. And then you guys are cool, like, what, 10 minutes later, unless you're some of my friends, and then it takes a day or two, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, it's okay to have disagreements and fight with your friends. It's not okay to, like, dig under them and make them fall.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've learned is that a lot of the bullying that happens on an adult level comes from that insecurity and low self-esteem. So a lot of the times when you're like, why is this person doing it to me? It'll just take a second to reflect and say, oh, this is why that person is doing it to me. They're doing it to me because they feel insecure.
Right.
So the person that's calling you fat is the person that feels insecure about their weight. The person who's calling you whatever is really insecure on the inside. So
The person's calling you gay is probably a person who is gay
dealing
too
with
and
their
dealing with the same thing.
sexuality
Can't
and
get
don't know
out.
how to deal with it.
Maybe
Yeah.
older. When I was younger, that was probably just something they knew.
Yeah,
they
of
could
course,
get
just
at
to be
my
mean.
face.
Yeah.
Just to be
Yeah.
mean.
But that was started too by the movement on television, because it's so interesting to me, because a lot of people are, in the Black community specifically, are like, oh, gay, gay, gay. But I'm like, wait, we've always had RuPaul. What about in the disco ages? Like, we've always accepted gay people. So like, what's this now? I mean, some of our greatest scholars and the greatest contributions in our culture have come from people who loved people who were the same sex.
Oscar
And
Wilde.
so I don't understand. I don't understand that whole dynamic. And it's like,
Because what is a discovery if it doesn't happen by a straight white man?
oh, well,
How about that?
it's patriarchy. It's always beneath us. So another thing I wanted to bring to you was, everybody talks about self-love. Oh, you have to love yourself. Oh, just love yourself. What does that even mean? How do we do that? What does that mean? How do you show up every day loving yourself? What does that mean, and how do we do it?
I think it's a reflection too. I think you got to take a step back and see what you give to society and what you're providing every day. For me, it's when I see my kids every day, and I have had some really, really hard days at school or at home or just within my own self, my own head. And then I'll go to school and then I'll do something and it's instantly changes everything. Or a kid will look at you and give you a hug and be like, you're the reason I come here and smile, because I look forward to seeing you, not just because you're gonna be my teacher, but you're just that person for me. And that, to me, just hearing that, I've been doing this for 11 years now, just hearing that, and when I'm not in a good place, I know that I'm going back to that. I go back and I say, I'm gonna go back to my kids. I'm gonna give, I'm gonna inspire, I'm gonna love. And I get that back. Like, I'm doing an amazing thing just from looking at your faces and giving all of this to you. My kid too, of course, my own kid, of course, but she's too young to be that grateful. She still doesn't, it's not the same thing. Yeah. But you really see it when people give you that back. You feel really, really good about yourself, and not just physically. Like, it takes everything to the back burner at that point. You say, wow, I am making some changes and I love this. And you know what? Hell yeah, I'm proud of who I am, and I'm proud of what I'm doing every day, because I'm doing something great every day.
Awesome.
Loving yourself for me is not necessarily, I mean, it is taking care of yourself, we can all say that. Mm-hmm. But it's also falling on your face and laughing. That's so important.
Which you do a lot of. I mean, you're really good.
Don't tell everybody. It's supposed to be a secret. That's what he's doing backstage all day, just falling on his face.
When you can laugh at your own quirks and your own, I don't like to say disadvantage, but like your own F-ups.
Your flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Your flaws.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's what I was looking for. And you can laugh at them and love them. That to me is loving yourself.
Right.
When you know your flaws and you still rock them. fall on your face, get up, laugh, and still look better than half the people who saw it, okay?
For me, I know in this new role here, it's called producer here in Asheville. It's been an amazing experience, but I also know that there's some influence here. There are people watching, and so for me, I have to love myself in order to get other people to love themselves. So for me, this is a constant act of community building, right? When I see a young girl in the audience and I say, hey, can I take a picture with you? And making sure that I get the picture with that young girl, or talking to them. And I know that if I can show confidence and self-love and reflect it, then they know that it's okay to do that. We live in a society where if you flaunt your happiness and you're living your best life, a lot of times that could be seen as being braggadocious,
pretentious,
or too bold, but I mean, for me, I have to celebrate myself to remind myself, because I have so much negative talk going on back here. I have to kind of counteract that, you know?
Well, it's better than looking at the actual person who probably owns the boat that all those Instagram models are on.
Yeah, that is really better.
Kirby, you have a thing about Instagram models.
I do.
He really does.
I do.
Yeah.
You always
really
are
This come up a lot. Yeah, it's
like,
come up a lot.
You gotta
Maybe
get an Instagram model and beat
because
you up.
I'm insecure because I want to be one.
Isn't that what we do, right? We pick on people who do the things we wish
that we can't do.
We could do. It's a thing. So I guess my final question for you, before we go to the break here, is what advice would you give to anyone in our audience today that's struggling with self-love?
I always think that whatever you are complaining about, just look at the bigger picture, and there's always somebody struggling so much more, and on a very, very different level. And if you're worried about how this looks, or how some people might not have hair because of being ill, or just be happy for what you have. And I know it's not easy. It's very, very hard. So always look at other people. It could always be worse than you. Other people could just be dreaming of what you have, your body, your face, your skin tone, everything. Just always look at other people, and always believe that you might not think of yourself as beautiful, but what are you giving to people? What you're radiating is beautiful.
And I think maybe we've all been here, like when we were younger, we're like, see our classmates or something, like, I wish I looked like them, exactly, like I wish I was them. And then you see them later, after you get your confidence and you know yourself, and you're like, why did I ever think that? And I think it's important to remember that you're gonna be your best self. You're never gonna be your best somebody else. So that's important.
But I know for me, what advice I would give to people are two things. The first thing is that you are beautifully made. I don't have to know who you are. I don't have to see you in the moment to be authentic with this. Like, every person is just as unique as a snowflake, and we're all beautifully made. And this, like, holding on to that is very critical, because especially if you're a person of color, the media does not want you to believe that you're beautifully made. There are systems and structures that won't allow you to stand and be beautifully made, but you are beautifully made, and that your uniqueness is important and it's special. And then the second piece of that is, I would say, is have people around you. So today, I had a conversation with Kirby, and we were talking about arms, and he was like, girl, everybody has arms. And I never wear my arms out because I'm extremely insecure about my arms. And he's like, everybody has arms. Arms are a thing, and some people's arms are big, and some people's arms are small. And I'm like, that's easy for you to say. Look at your little bitty arms.
But that's exactly it. Look at my little bitty arms. I don't got no biceps.
That's exactly
There
what
you
I
go.
said. And so it's this thing of, like, understanding that you are here, and your purpose is more than something on the outside of you.
Absolutely.
And like, y'all, all this stuff can be fixed with money. Like, right? So this is not a
Unless
big
you're in
deal.
LA. Unless you're in LA.
All those things are tiny things that can be fixed. But what can't be fixed is your character, your integrity, and who you are on the inside. So let's focus on that, and like, the rest will come together.
I remembered Kirby's point 2.0. And I think I spoke about this in an earlier episode, but I just want to reiterate this. if you are scrolling down Instagram, any social media, and you're seeing these beautiful relationships and these luxurious cars and these really nice houses,
Yes.
and they are making you feel bad about things you don't have, unfollow. It's different than looking
might not
at an Instagram.
be as pretty as you think.
Yeah, it's different than looking at an Instagram model and saying, hey, like, I look up to this, I want to work out. That's one thing. But if you're looking at Instagram model and you're like,
People's
oh,
lives.
I feel horrible about my body, or I don't have that
But
car,
should
this, that, and the
they
third.
unfollow, or should they kind of like learn to be happy for other people?
Yeah.
Like, I can see everything that happens in your life. I'm like, oh, Kirby's fabulous. He was in a movie. I want to be in a movie, but I don't let that make me feel bad. And if I feel bad, is that not a reflection on me?
Yeah.
It is a reflection,
that's
which
something
is
you need to
why
work
that's
on.
obviously something that you don't need to remind you
Right.
about.
But you gotta do the work too, though, right? 'Cause
You have to do the work.
live.
My thing
Right.
is if it makes you feel like you don't have enough how you are, and you're not enough how you are, and that your Honda's not okay, or whatever car you drive, and that your weird 1-bedroom house from the 50s isn't okay,
Yeah.
then unfollow. Don't follow anything that makes you feel horrible.
But I agree with you, Aisha. I do feel like it's something that's a learning process too. You're gonna learn to just be like, hey, it's okay. They're doing this, I'm doing this.
But
Even if it does make you feel a little jealous, or you really, that means you have to work on yourself.
half of them don't even have that. Like I said
Yeah,
about the picture
exactly.
on the
Yeah,
boat.
a lot
Like,
of-
you
and
don't
that's
take a
another
picture of a
reason.
thing,
Yeah, a lot
but-
of people are renting those things, but what I'm saying is we have to get okay. We have to be okay with each other being ourselves. So if he rents his clothes and
Yeah.
his car, that shouldn't make me feel like that's a reflection on me.
Yeah.
That I feel jealous because he rents his clothes and his car, and I feel like I need to build my own self-esteem.
My thing is especially with the younger generation who have these all the time, they
Right.
don't know the difference.
No, they don't.
And
They
even
don't.
adults sometimes do not know the difference.
That's why I'm
Right.
always checking on what my kids are doing, looking at stories, and I'm always like, give me that. Oh my God, why are you so nosy? And I said, no, this really affects you mentally.
Yeah.
Stop
Like,
with that. This is really stupid.
no one
this is
needs
fake.
to know what Dora the Explorer is wearing to the red carpet event.
So you're watching the Asheville View, and we'll be right back.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Oxendine. I'm a business developer in the Western North Carolina region. I've been doing this work for over 17 years. Currently, I work as the director of the Western Women's Business Center, which is a program of Carolina Small Business Development Fund. I wanted to share some tips today about confidence and how to have confidence about your product and your services. Something that I would probably tell some of my clients, but it's not going to be around what you would think as far as like cash flow and marketing. All of those things you can figure out yourself. Most people can. But what I usually tell clients that I work with, a couple of tips, start with number one, know your culture. That was one of the most important things for me. Anybody that knows me knows I am very proud to be a First Nations woman from Southeast North Carolina, the Lumbee tribe. When I was younger, I wasn't really proud of it because I was bullied about the color of my skin. So it took me a long time to realize that this was something I needed to be proud of. I come from people, and I would have never told people this in the past, that were sharecroppers for tobacco farms, and now I'm very proud of that because my people were resilient, they were strong and persistent. So that's one thing, is I know my culture. I know what my culture is about and who I come from, and I'm really proud of that. The second thing is know your community. Who is your community? We had someone here today who was talking about the Latino community, and I just want to say, know who your community is. And if you don't speak the language, get someone to be your sponsor so they can take you into other communities and show you how to connect with those communities, because you can't just sell your services and products to one community. The other thing is Be authentic. Be committed to who you are and what you are, because that's so important, and people can see through that when you're not committed. I always tell people of color, and I like that word better than minorities, I always tell people of color, always know who you are and what's happening in your community and your commitment to that community. But if something comes up, don't always naturally go to the race card. It's not always about race. Sometimes it might seem like that, but carry on and find your way in the world without always pulling the race card. And last, but really important for me, I always try to carry something on me that builds my self-confidence and self-esteem. Like today, I have one of my best friend's mantra on my wrist, and it's written on the bracelet. And at the end, it talks about being broken by the will of life. Sometimes we're going to be broken down around our business, and sometimes things are not going to look so good, but we can always pick ourselves up and go on. So that's my tips today for you, and I'm really glad and appreciate the Asheville View asking me to share with you.
Hello, I'm Dr. Sharon Norling, and this is Ask Your Doctor. Now, some of you know this, and others this might be new information for you, but the skin is the largest organ in our body. It actually weighs about 10 pounds, and it covers an area of about 22 square feet. But sometimes the skin is trying to tell us what's going on inside of our body. So lesions just don't happen. Eczema doesn't just happen, psoriasis doesn't just happen. It is a dermatitis, and anything that has an itis, dermatitis, neuritis, gastroenteritis, arthritis, is caused by inflammation. So you have to figure out where is that inflammation coming from. For example, eczema is quite common, actually, because 8 million people have eczema, and it covers all races. So what could be the cause of that inflammation? Patients come to me and they've seen many dermatologists or primary care physicians, and the first thing I recommend to them is I want you to get a stool test. They look at me like, excuse me, Dr. Norling, I came because of these lesions and you want to test my GI tract to find out what's going on in my stool. Absolutely, because this is where your immune system is located. And if you have inflammation, maybe it's coming from an infection that's hidden in your GI tract. Maybe it's coming from a food sensitivity you don't even know you have. Maybe it's coming from a gluten sensitivity. But every time you're eating those foods, your immune system, it's located here, reacts to it to protect you, creating inflammation. The inflammation doesn't just stay here, it gets out into the bloodstream. And all of a sudden, you begin to see these patches that are red or itching. They might be crusting over. They might eventually get kind of a thick skin and skin damage, and they turn brown. They can occur in any part of your body. But the key is your skin's trying to tell you something. So we need to find that out. For example, when you've been to the dermatologist or primary care doctor, they'll often recommend a cream. You could put on a medication or cortisone. And what do? Those medications shut down the immune system. This is where our immune system is located. You need your immune system to protect you against bacteria, against viruses and parasites. And with a lower immune system, you can read the package inserts on Humira and find out that there's an increased risk for tuberculosis, for infections, for cancer, particularly lymphoma. So what I'm recommending to my patients is don't stop these medications, but get tested. Find out the root cause of your eczema, psoriasis, or rashes, because it's telling you something. Listen to your body, look at your body. Your skin can often be a barometer of your own health. So this is Dr. Sharon Norling on Ask Your Doctor, and I'll see you next time on the Asheville View.
And we have our friend Reverend B LaPrince Edwards with us, and he's going to be talking to us about bullying in schools. And just take a look at this gorgeous book here, You Can't Bully Me Anymore. Yes, what a wonderful read. How are you?
I am awesome, and I just want to say how happy I am to be here. This is awesome. This is just really, really awesome, and I thank you for this opportunity to share, because we know that bullying is a growing crisis in our country, to the point now where children are looking at suicide has become popular, in particularly among elementary school children, as an option to end bullying. And so this book was birthed out of all of that. I work here in Asheville in collaboration with the Buncombe County School Board and the City of Asheville School Board. And at my church where I pastor, St. James AME Church, if you're out there, St. James, I'm the loud, crazy pastor, right? And we hosted a bullying forum for both Buncombe County and the City of Asheville schools about 2 years ago. We had a young lady that came in who now has seizures because of bullying, and so we had several teachers there, principals, both superintendents of both areas. And I noticed that there are not enough resources on bullying, particularly for elementary school children. And then I also noticed that most of the resources that are there, they talk to the bullied or even talk to the parent, but not directly to the child, and leave out the offender. And hurt people hurt people.
What? Say it again.
Hurt people hurt people.
Because my thing is free people, so I know what you're talking about.
Yes.
But can we repeat that? Hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
And so out of that, I said, let's not leave the offender out, because oftentimes children who do the bullying bully themselves. And they pass that pain on. And so what I did was, I decided, and he's historical to this book because he was in the process. I would talk to him during the time I was writing this book. But I decided to write a book based on what happened at that school board meeting that we had. And for elementary school children at their age level. And I also drew the pictures in a language that they can understand, but also...
Wait, you illustrated the book?
Yes.
Oh, amazing.
Yes.
This is so cool.
And in a language that children can understand. And what this book does, it starts as a discussion starter. Because studies show that over 160,000 children per day, according to the Anti-Bullying Institute, will not go to school because of fear of bullying.
Right.
Studies also show 70% of children feel that schools handle bullying poorly. Girls are 6 times likely to be bullied than guys. 57% of children are bullied because of religious or cultural or sexual differences. And so I said, somebody needs to talk to the child about this, because oftentimes children are in fear.
Right.
Yeah.
They're in fear, so this book is a discussion starter.
Yeah, and I guess my question to you would be this. So I've taught in several states. I've taught in Alabama, I've taught in North Carolina, and one of the things is, because I'm so cool, like I could get back with the bully. So if you wanted to bully a student, I would intercede, and then I would proceed to be able to keep it light and funny, and then we all sit down and we work together.
Right.
But what trainings are available for teachers? Because a lot of teachers, when I was in high school, I was severely bullied for being in ROTC. So every time we wore our uniform, I was in honors classes, they'd be like, oh, you got on your monkey suit. And you're a monkey, and like,
oh my God.
you know, you're a man, and like all these things, because I decided to partake in ROTC. And I had a teacher, and she didn't know what to do. She just felt sorry for me. That's all she could do. She didn't have the strength, the knowledge, the skill set to do anything. So glad you're talking to the students. What's being done with the teachers to help them create warm academic environments?
Actually, the ink hasn't dried on the paper yet. I also serve as a part of the Equity and Collaboration Committee for Asheville City Schools.
Nice.
And this is a part of the discussion that has a lot to do with the achievement gap. Because if you're being bullied at home, right, how can you learn?
Right.
You know, it's psychologically, how can you learn? So that is a piece that's yet to be written.
Yeah.
Because I have not heard much discussion. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
there needs to be training.
Right.
Right.
Because then how do you respect boundaries? Because when you start dealing with other people's children,
Right.
there are boundaries, like even the disciplinary piece.
Yeah.
That's a very touchy area.
Right.
So-
Well, I think it's really important though, because it's, you know, we have a saying in education that teachers set the weather of the classroom. And so if you are cloudy when it comes to bullying, then everyone in your class is cloudy when it comes to bullying.
Exactly.
And so it makes it a safe place to bully. But if you're the teacher and you say, we don't do this here, and you create nice systems and boundaries in your classroom, it will not happen in your classroom. And I know that.
But let's not keep bullying just to school.
Right.
It happens in the workplace.
Yes.
It happens in homes. It happens all over the
You
place.
forgot to talk about Instagram, because you know.
That's true.
Happens
Social
on
Yes.
media.
Social media.
Social media.
Yo, I've never
Yes.
been social media bullied, but like it's a thing. Like
Yeah.
these trolls. Actually, we were social
we
media
got bullied on
bullied.
Facebook.
Right.
Would you tell the
Got
story,
trolled.
Kirby?
Yes.
Talk to
Oh
people.
goodness, I don't even remember what these people were rambling on about because I don't have the time or day. I'm a one post kind of guy. What were they saying? They were like talking
They
about.
were talking about basically a lot of conservatives this show makes them feel uncomfortable. They
Good.
are not used to seeing black people stand up and speak. They're not used to a Moroccan saying, nope, I'm actually African.
Yeah.
They're not used to someone who's LGBTQ being comfortable in their own right. So we do get a lot of slack for the show.
do.
Like, this has not been, I'm glad everybody here is supporting
No,
us.
it gets to you. It gets to you too, especially when they talk about your ethnicity or the way you were brought up, and they really hit you hard, and you can't help it but get bothered by it. And that's what your kids and the younger generation don't have the same kind of control that we do with our emotions and letting things bother us. Like, it bothered me for a day,
Right.
and then I was over
But
it.
even if it bothered us for a day, imagine if we were 5 times less our ages or 3
Exactly.
times less
So
our
that'll
ages.
stick
Imagine
with
if
them
it happened
forever.
with a person in a space that you have to go to regularly.
Yeah,
Right.
or imagine if that was happening and you already have a mental health issue or a mental situation going on at home.
Or an
and-
exactly,
Yeah.
an extra situation.
Yeah, so you already got this extra situation, and now you have someone saying stuff like, I hope your show burns to the ground, or
Yeah.
like they call Miriam the Moroccan, like not by her name. They were like, and the Moroccan can go back to Africa.
And the
those are
Moroccan
the-
can go back where she came from if she doesn't like how we do things here.
Yeah, so
And-
those are the kind of statements
Yeah.
that we
I was
even
like,
get
I have a name?
doing this show because
me the Moroccan.
people feel insecure about people progressively speaking.
Right.
I want to commend you all because you all are like trailblazers. And I mean, you know, and you all really are. I'm
No, baby,
sitting
I'm
here.
the blazer.
I'm the trail. If you're the blazer, I'm the trail.
I'm just blazing.
Helen Steiner Rice, who's one of my favorite poets, Helen Steiner Rice said this. She said, "You can count the seeds in the apple, but nobody can count the apples in the seed."
Right.
So by you all doing this, you have no idea of the lives that you may be touching, the conversations that need to start. So I encourage you all, do not let anything keep you off from doing this, because this is healthy.
Yeah,
This
it
is,
is.
and people are crying out. And I think we need to be on the more proactive side than the reactive side. Too many times we on the reactive side.
Right.
Like after the suicides, young girl, you know, she committed suicide.
This was here recently, like in Alabama or something. She's about 9
Right.
years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One in Alabama, one in Charleston, where I'm from, Walterboro, right outside of Charleston. There was another young man. And what I've also done in this book, you have 4 characters. You have Nancy, Thomas, Chad, and Rosa. And each character in this book is a metaphor of something kids go through. Like Chad is bullied because he has special needs. Rosa is bullied because she's from a different culture or a different belief system. Thomas is bullied because of his physical appearance. He's overweight. And then Nancy is bullied because, you know, a lot of times children are bullied also because she's pretty. And because she makes A's.
Yep.
And so she's bullied because of that.
Me. Yeah, that was me too in
And
elementary.
so this has to continue. And one of the things we've been doing with this book, to my amazement, you know, because I've written other books, right? Nobody pays attention to them. All the I've written books like thick like this. Nobody. I'm like, I spent all this time. Nobody paying attention to. But this little book right here. And because we've been blessed that this little book has made the New York Times Book Review. And when I found out it was on April Fool's Days. So I got all these crazy friends, right? And I'm like, you know, because, you know, and I just called you to tell you that. I'm like, stop playing, come on, you know? But then found out that it was really true, but it's starting needful discussions.
Yeah.
Right.
I was in a women's conference, right? I said, you all gonna let me in, even though I'm a man, I'm coming to this women's conference. And so I sat in the back, and they had this session, this workshop was called Touch Me Anywhere But There. I will never forget it. You know, a workshop is good if it's 10 years down the road, you can still remember.
Right.
And they talked about how if a person has been cut or have some type of pain, you can touch on other parts of the body. There's a doctor in the house, but when you touch that afflicted area, it really hurts.
Yeah.
And so some subjects really hurt.
Yeah.
Because everything starts in the home.
Yes.
Right.
There's a Ghanaian proverb that says the ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its people. And then, and so a lot of times you have parents. My parents are retired educators. My mom taught school for about 40 years. My dad was a principal for about the same. I used to be afraid of my mom because my mother would go out the classroom and grab me, and we would go like into the project areas, you know, and this would be before all the things that have happened in Charleston happened.
Yeah.
And she would knock on doors, and she would talk to parents about the status of their children not doing well in school. It was some positivity in that, but I also watched my mom get cussed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, cussed out.
Yeah.
And we still have teachers who do that.
Yeah.
Go knock on doors and
Yeah.
really get in there and try to change things and try to bring the families into the conversation, because without that you can't really you can't have any
all
change.
about family.
I watch too much IDTV to go knocking on doors.
I was actually happy when Mom retired.
Yeah.
But one of the positives that's happening with the Equity and Collaboration Committee for Asheville City Schools is there's conversation on the table now about how can we better include families in the process. And someone mentioned it in another discussion that you all had. Instead of making all of the changes from the top down, we need to hear from the people that are really affected.
Right.
So how do we reach those families?
Right. Well, because you're on that committee, I want to give you a special recommendation. We have had so many African American teachers of color here come and leave and quit. Let's talk to them. Like, let's not fly somebody in from Charlotte. Like, let's talk to the teachers who were in the school system and left. Let's talk to the parents who had students that are in the school system and they left. Let's pull all the people together in UNCA and hear about those stories.
Let's talk to the parents who are concerned about their child's friend.
Yeah.
Let's talk to them. There's so many ways to connect with different families from the bottom up, like you said. But I mean, I think the hardest thing is, how do you fix a family?
Well, you don't have to fix a family. It's not your job to fix a family. I think that's where we come in with this cape of like being a superhero. Our job is to provide resources so families can heal themselves.
Right.
And I think that if you really get to the core, nobody says, oh, I want to have a messed up family. People want to have good families, and if you give them
Some
the tools.
people that have families don't want them at all.
Well, that's because they don't have the tools to build up what they're trying to build up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so with like, you can't bully me anymore, this is a tool. It's a tool for starting a conversation with your child on both ways. Are you being bullied? And also, here's
Are
why
you
you
a bully?
shouldn't be a bully, right? And so those are the conversation starters.
Right.
So how has your book changed your life?
It has changed my life in a lot of ways. It has made me even more cognizant and more sensitive to what's going on around me.
Right.
And even as a pastor, and I pastor right around the corner downtown here in Asheville, it has motivated me to mobilize our congregation to get outside of the four walls, in which we've been doing a wonderful job, and hats off to St. James again, and actually getting our hands dirty to help people. I remember there was a lady, her child wasn't doing well in school, and I was wondering why the child wasn't doing well in school, and the child said to me, well, my mama said I can't come home until I sell these drugs, because this is how we're going to pay the light bill. And the first thing that I realized was that parent needed help.
Right.
And we've been able to, like, I'm big on referring, referring people to be able to get parents help.
Right.
And then as a result of the parents receiving help, it affected the child.
Yeah.
So we're trying to get that to spread.
Yeah, I feel like if people have more resources, they build better families.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody's just trying to do their best. And when you're not exposed to a healthy, normal life, you really can't give that back.
A quick question. Raise your hand on this panel if you've ever been bullied.
Second question, raise your hand if you've ever bullied.
I did one time. And I still feel bad. I remember
Never
the day.
bullied?
Never.
That's
Because I guess I was bullied so much I could never do that to
before a
anybody.
book like this and before the conversation. I know you think I'm an angel. No, you know me too well.
No, you're not an angel.
She was my teacher. My way to counteract bullying my freshman year, because like everyone was just really just brutal, I became a bully myself, and I had to bully people to get respect.
Right.
And then I became the Princess
I had a
of
kid who was
Asheville.
going I taught a kid who was so aggressive. And the only way they dealt with it is get the cop in here, handcuff him. And it was just this very violent thing that I was always so scared of. Like when you have a group of kids and then you have a kid who's struggling and he'll get up and punch holes in the walls and stuff, and he's little and there's a cop on top of him handcuffing him. Like it was so aggressive to me that I was like, okay, he's a little, he has a temper and he's scaring me a little bit, but what is causing this? Because nobody was mean to him. And when I sat down with him, and he had two moms, and he was Asian, he was really little, and the school where he was before he came to Asheville High was just, that's all he knew. He was thrown in trash cans all the time. He was bullied for having two mothers. He was bullied for being different. And that's all it took. It was very, very painful and exhausting to have that conversation and really pull that out of him. But I cried and just told him, I said, what is damaging to you? What happened?
Who hurt you?
Who hurt you? Exactly.
Who did it?
And this is exactly what it is. He didn't even give a chance to people to see how good the people are here in this community. And I said, nobody did anything to you. Why are you? But that's just a defensive mechanism.
Hurt people, hurt
yes,
people.
that's it.
Right.
He didn't even give us a chance. He was out to hurt people, out to hit people, and it was kind of like a big.
Miriam, he was out to protect himself.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to realize a lot of times. I don't think he was saying, like, let me go and be a bad person. He was saying, let me stop this from happening
This
to
is
me.
how
Well, that's exactly what my
situation
situation was my freshman year. Is I had to be a bully, but I probably went home and cried about some things I said like so many times because they were so ugly.
I've only bullied like intentionally once. Now, I'm accused of being bullied just because my personality, my fabulousness. But I've only intentionally bullied one time, and I did it. I was in second grade. The teacher was absent, and we all ganged up on one kid. And I still regret that. I will never forget that.
Yeah.
We made a song about him at the playground, and we all sang it. And I saw that young man years later, and I said, I wonder what would have happened if we would have all been nice to him that day. And I just don't want to be that person. And so I would never do that again. And I'm always trying to be conscious of the people that are around me and to live like, I treat people how I want them to treat my kid.
Absolutely.
Not like how I want them to treat me,
Well,
but how I want them to treat my kid.
satisfying. It's never satisfying. You think it's going to be satisfying, and it never is. It's like when serial killers have to kill again because they didn't get the satisfaction the first time. And it's like, no, you don't have to be mean. It's going to feel just as bad the next time you do it, and the third time you do it, and the fifth time, and the 100th time you've done it. It's still going to feel bad.
One of the things that I try to accomplish in this book is building self-esteem. Because with each of the characters, Nancy, Chad, Thomas, and Rosa, and celebrating your uniqueness. And someone asked me a question, well, why would you say you can't bully me anymore when we have no power over the behavior of other people.
Right.
Because you can hit them with the book.
No, I mean, when people say something bad about you, though, it's your perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to
Right.
choose what's bullying and what's
Right.
bullshit at the end of the day.
Right. And so what the book does also is build self-esteem
Right.
in children. So regardless, to realize you are unique. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your orientation is. It doesn't matter if you're poor. It doesn't matter if you're from another country. It doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. Celebrating your uniqueness when you know who you are. Because I do not like the statement. It's an old famous statement that says, "Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me." That is so untrue psychologically.
Words
It's so
friggin' hurt.
untrue
Yeah.
on so many levels.
Sometimes I'd rather you just hit me with a stick.
Oh, yeah.
than the words, because
Oh,
those
yeah.
words, they replay in your mind over and over and over again. Well, I remember when you said. I remember how I felt when
Right.
you said. So yeah.
And what
you
happens
forget
when
what they
teachers
said,
bully?
You still feel it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Not
Like,
you.
I was I
But-
was bullied by teachers
Yes.
when I was a kid,
Madam,
and
wherever
I
you stick
and I
it.
think
I was
that
bullied by teachers when I was a teacher.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I thought me and Miriam were going to have to jump one of the teachers one day.
Yes.
Like this
Yes.
really happened. I'm standing
Yes,
there. I'm
that really did
lady,
happen.
is this really going to be like, are you going to make us show you who we can be in here in this hall?
I almost did.
There was a teacher. I was
She
failing.
didn't have her
with,
hall pass on her. They thought she
So
was
yeah,
a student.
I had a student, we were doing tardy sweeps, and I told the young man, hey, let me take you to your class and I'll get you a tardy pass. And I was taking him to the class and the teacher refused him.
And that was across the hall from
and yeah,
my
Miriam
classroom.
was across the hall and she was like, what do you mean you're not gonna take the kid? Like, why aren't you gonna take the kid? And so we're like, what are we gonna do? Like,
Yeah.
So you can be bullied at any age. And we especially have to watch out for our elders,
We're
right?
leaving a few details out, but those aren't appropriate for the show. Just know some really mean things were said to her, and everyone else was an angel.
So before we go, first of all, congratulations on all of your success with the
Congratulations.
book.
Thank you.
Our final question for you is, how can we pick up the book? How can we support you on this journey as you work to make our community better?
First of all, you can pick the book up. Simply, it's in Barnes & Noble everywhere.
Okay.
You can go right to Barnes & Noble and get it. And it's in other bookstores here in Asheville. But just simply go to the website, youcan'tbullymeanymore.com.
Okay.
Youcan'tbullymeanymore.com, and it will direct you. You also can go to Amazon and other sites, but just go to youcan'tbullymeanymore.com. That's the fastest way to get it online. And if you want a copy today, just go to Barnes & Noble and pick it up.
Nice.
I think if we can just get the word out, let's start conversations everywhere. And as a result, I've been going to different elementary schools here. And the last one I went to was Claxton Elementary School, and it was 300 kids. And we had a ball, because I have puppets that go with the book as well.
that's so
we did the
cool.
puppets and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And just to hear children, I mean, actively listening to children.
Right,
Because
right.
one of the things to help children, we have to listen. And not listen from the perspective of, okay, I'm gonna listen to you, but then I want you to hear my opinion, but be able to actively listen to children and to really hear their hearts. And at Claxton, it was, some of the things that the children were saying was simply amazing
Right.
to come from elementary schools. But just get the word out. Get the word out about anti-bullying, get these discussions started.
Well, we would like to thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you
to
for
hang
this
with us
was-
on the Asheville View.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next week on the Asheville View.
Awesome.